to Polyphonic Tarot. Today, in this reading today, we are going to be doing a 12 card monthly forecast for someone. This is kind of a rare thing. No one ever really asks for this reading, so I haven't done it in a long, a long bloody time. But that's what we're going to be doing for you today. Just taking a look at I suppose, the next 30 days or so, since we're in the middle of a month right now. But I suppose we'll look at from basically the present from now until the middle of January or so. And the way the spread works is it's based on the 12 houses or the 12 signs of the zodiac. Both of those concepts are kind of similar. I realize that they are not entirely synonymous, but they are more or less similar. So we're going to be looking at the different areas of your life that those 12 signs and houses represent, and we're going to be evaluating the next month based on those cards. Okay, so for you today, we're going to be using the Knight of Discs as a significator because you are, as I remember correctly, a Virgo. Your birthday is September 3rd. So, anywho, hope this helps, and let's go ahead and shuffle. Okay. So we're going to keep your significator in the middle here, and we're going to go around counterclockwise like this in the order of the signs. So for the sign of Aries, or the first house, you have the Prince of Cups. For Taurus, you have Temperance or Art. Gemini, you have the Four of Cups. And in Cancer, you have the Two of Swords. Leo, you have the Eight of Discs. Virgo is the Chariot. Libra, Ten of Cups. Scorpio, the Emperor. Sagittarius, the Prince of Discs. Capricorn, Four of Wands. And then Aquarius, the Seven of Swords, and Pisces, the Four of Discs, excuse me. And on the bottom of your deck is the Six of Discs. Okay, let me see here. So there is, let's see, you've got four water cards. 1, 2, 3 fire cards. 1, 2, only 2 air cards, and 1, 2, 3 cards of earth. Okay. So the most that you have is water. Okay, that's interesting to keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to just start in order and go through. So your the card that represents basically, I interpret this as like your personal perspective, how you feel about yourself for this being the card associated with Aries here. And you have the Prince of Cups for that. So for the next month, I feel like you're going to be keeping to yourself for the most part. For the most part, kind of following your own agenda, not really involving yourself too much with the issues of others or anything like that. I just see you as kind of taking it easy for the most part and doing some self-reflection perhaps, but mostly I think just keeping quiet, really. You know, the Prince of Cups is not particularly overt in any way, and he just keeps to himself and is very secretive. So, and as you can see, my cat in the background. But anywho, that is your overall perspective for yourself for the next month, and I will return to that as we get a better sense for the overall month. but it's a sense of mostly keeping to yourself. Now, you're in Taurus, which is the sign of like your possessions and the things that you own, the things that you're cultivating right now. You have art, which is very positive for that position, because it means that you are going to be frugal with your spending this month. That you're going to be very moderate with it, and basically financially you're going to be pretty stable for the next month. Um, you may um, you may consolidate your money in some fashion, or pool it in some way, because of course art is all about putting things together and forcing opposites, or I should perhaps not say force, but bringing opposites into greater coexistence with each other is a better way of putting it. So financially you will be able to bridge whatever gap there may be between having and not having. So I just see you as being very practical for the next month and spending frugally. Now in your Gemini, you have, which is all about communication and your friends and your social life, basically. And that you do have the Four of Cups, which connects very much to your Prince of Cups stuff that we just talked about. That kind of confirms for me that you're going to mostly keep to yourself and be kind of private for the next month, because your social life is going to kind of take a back seat. It isn't going to be all that exciting, to be very honest with you, socially. A lot of your communications with people are going to be kind of dull, and your social life is going to, frankly, be a little uninteresting for the next month, um, which is kind of to be expected, it being winter. But um, you do have next for Cancer, for your private life or your home life, the people that are really close to you more directly, is the Two of Swords. So it's a feeling of just kind of settling any issues you may have with people close to you. Just no really no upsets between you or anyone else, but that sort of makes it seem like there is some kind of tension between you and some people around you that are close to you. But whatever that may be, I think that you're going to, for the most part, be able to get along with these people. And partially that may have something to do with that Prince of Cups bit. Possibly you feel the need to kind of take a step back socially for this month, just because you don't want to cause any conflict. And I think that that's going to be possible for you. I just think that I see this month as you kind of taking a break from people and having a bit of an introverted moment, which is totally okay. And just not really necessarily engaging people all that much, and kind of just sticking to yourself, which again is perfectly okay. For Leo, which is all about your passions, your love interests, things that you're creating that you're really excited about. You have the Eight of Discs, so this is good. Um, Either this month is going to be really good for you creatively, and you're going to, again, there's also a good sense of practicality through this reading so far with art in Taurus. Um, this sort of, I get that. No. Again, I don't think this month is not going to have too much excitement for you, but I do think it's going to be a month of building towards something that is going to be exciting. Um, and whatever, and all of your passionate energy, all of your creative energy is going to be invested throughout this month. It's like you're making an investment, and eventually it will um, reward you. But that's going to be down the road. You will not necessarily be able to see the fruits of your labor just yet, but I believe by the end of the month you should be starting to see where this is going. Um, I don't know. I think that that's an okay card to have there. I might come back to that. It has a sense, a continued sense of prudence throughout this month, practicality, frugality, all that good stuff, and also a sense of building towards something. So either, again, you may have something work related that you are trying to finish for the next month, and I just see you as putting your creative energy into whatever that is, into whatever project it is that you are working on. I just see you as steadily working through that through the next month. In Virgo, which is all about your health and your physical sense, you have the Chariot, which is very good. So either I don't know if you are working on some fitness or something like that. Uh, but this kind of implies to me like overcoming physical obstacles and really pushing yourself and motivating yourself to be healthy and to overcome kind of whatever vices you may have, or um, just to be very active. I just see you as being very active this month physically and having lots to do, and having a lot of self control throughout this month, in terms of eating and remaining active and remaining healthy. I think that's also a very good card to have there as well. This is a very good month for you, and I think it's just a nice month of retreat, really. Uh, for your Libra card, you have the Ten of Cups. Libra is all about, well, technically it is associated with legal dealings, partnerships, marriages, and that sort of thing. But it can also represent people who you connect with very closely. The three air signs are kind of interesting because Gemini is all about like general communication and how you interact with people. Libra is more like the people that you really have a close connection to, that you feel are really loyal and that sort of thing. And Aquarius is all about like your group think, your group mentality. So they all have different aspects of social science. But this one is more like people who are more directly close to you, sort of in the way that Cancer is about that, though Cancer is more emotional about it. And you have the Ten of Cups for that. So um, I don't, I just see that as being surrounded by good people, really, and not really having any major decisions that need to be made. Whatever decisions that you are going to be making through the next month um, are not particularly risky, I think, which is important to know. I just see your decisions as being um, happy ones, and kind of simple in a way. I just think that even though you may be taking a backseat socially, I still think that there are going to be good friends around you when you want them to be, which is a good thing. Um, I don't know what I want to say about that, but the Ten of Cups is about the fulfillment of some kind of happiness. Granted, it is very transitory and sort of you're left wanting after it, very quickly after it, after you experience it. So I don't know. I think that it just is getting at this sense um, of choosing comfort. Really, I don't know. I just see you as you're clearly going into like a kind of hermit mode for the next month, and I just think you're choosing your own personal happiness. Really, you're choosing to embrace the small things that make you happy, which are very important things. As we say, it is the little things. Um, Now in Sagittarius, excuse me, Scorpio, you have the Emperor. Now, Scorpio is all about, technically, it's all about sex and death. So, sexually, you will feel very empowered this month, and it's your sexual energy is going to be very strong because you have the Emperor there. I mean, the Emperor is all about masculine energy, And in this position, in a Scorpio position, he's just very uh, fertile, for lack of a better word. So good for you, Yuko Glen Coco. Um, I just think that there's going to be a lot of powerful, creative energy uh, working through you for the next month. Now, whether or not you will actually, meet a particular someone and really act out on that is not really necessarily clear here, particularly since you are not exactly looking for that kind of connection right now. But at the same time, you will be feeling very interested, for lack of a better word, and you will likely feel very strong in your masculinity, very secure in that, very mature, like a developing sense of mature sexuality and mature desires and that sort of thing. For Sagittarius, you have the Prince of Discs. Now, this seems to be an exterior influence, someone who is influencing the way that you think. Sagittarius is all about philosophy and teachers, really, the people that influence you and instruct you in one way or another. And it's also all about spirituality. So if the Prince of Discs is there to represent you, then spiritually you're just going to really be focused on that. And possibly, I don't know if you're pursuing yoga right now or something, but that could also connect back to your chariot in Virgo. Because again, there's so much of an emphasis on self-control physically with the chariot in Virgo that coupled with a Prince of Discs mentality for your spirituality, it would not surprise me if you're taking up a yogic practice, or if you're continuing to, or if you're going to start really finding success with whatever yoga practice you are doing, or meditative practice, or what have you. So I think that that's likely if that is the case. Either way, it shows you being very dedicated to your spirituality for this month and being and just sticking with it. Now, if it represents an exterior person, someone who is not necessarily you, then it is someone who is probably actually not all that spiritual. So they would be more of a person who's providing you advice through this month, and whatever advice they're going to give you is going to be very practical and very sensible. And I do think that they're very trustworthy. So whatever advice this person, if it is another person, is going to give you, whatever counsel they're going to give you, as far as your and it would probably have something to do with either money or finances or your job or something like that, or your health, anything like that. Their advice is I would take it. I think it's probably pretty good advice. It also helps that the Prince of Discs is Taurus, and the card that represents teaching in the tarot is Taurus, the Hierophant, of course. So the Prince of Discs is not a guy to distrust, So I think that that's really good. Your Capricorn is, or your basically your career, your work, your desire to compete with others and that sort of thing, and remain relevant socially, is the Four of Wands. So you're going to be very productive this month. Again, I think, if you are working on some project specifically, again, with that Leo bit, with the Eight of Discs, you are going to get it done, and it's going to be done very well. So, and maybe that's also partially why you are kind of not being quite so social or active this month socially, is because you're busy working on work stuff or whatever it is that you are trying to build up through this month. But I think it's going to be okay. I think that you're going to get it done, and you're going to get it done, and it's going to be done well, is what I'm getting there. And there's just an air of success about your career, for the next month, okay, which is also very positive. For Aquarius, which is more about how you are going to be fitting into groups this for the next month, you have the Seven of Swords, and I think that this does fit in with the overall themes of what we've been talking about here. Hi. Sorry, my mom just came home. I'm doing a reading. But anywho, So the Seven of Swords is I want to say that it's just you you aren't going to feel like you fit in for the next month. Again, that there socially you're going through a bit of a thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Like I don't sense that you're depressed about it or you're feeling lonely or anything, but I do think that you just are developing a sense of like not either not being able to connect to other people or um, just not being able to fit in entirely, or that like other people are either working against you or are trying to cloud your judgment. You're just not going to be very trustworthy of groups in general. I see you as mostly trying to rely on yourself, which throughout this reading seems to be working out for you. So I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Um, but at the same time, I don't want you to isolate yourself from people, you know, longer than you have to, you know. Your last card is in Pisces, which is all about your dreams, your imagination, some of your more subconscious creative energy, uh, dreams, intuition, that sort of thing. And you have the Four of Discs. So I see this as a month of not necessarily being all that emotional, really, or all that. You know, it goes along very well with your Prince of Cups in your perspective. For the next month, it's not about your feelings. You're going to be concealing whatever you're feeling pretty carefully. I think you're going to be very cautious about who you let in for the next month. You're very protective right now of yourself, and I see that even on the bottom of your deck. You have underneath the Six of Discs, which is all about your financial success, your career success, which is very clear throughout this reading. Despite all of that, you do have the Hanged Man, so part of you feel victimized a little bit, particularly coupled with the Princess of Swords underneath him. You feel victimized, and perhaps it is by one person in particular, the Queen of Cups, which is also under your deck. I don't know if a woman in particular has hurt you recently, and so you just feel like you need to focus on work and just not really deal with things of the heart right now or social situations, and that would all make sense to me. Um, so I think that in that light or in that context, I think your next month is actually overall going to be quite smooth. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea for you to take this break from people, because you do feel very vulnerable right now socially, and that's also just a reason why you're retreating a little bit. I think you just feel very vulnerable. Now, on one hand, that's going to free up a sense of independence for you. You know, you're going to really feel like you're independent and in control of your sex life and your romantic life and all of that stuff, which is great. But at the same time, you're going to be very afraid of it. There's kind of a contradictory aspect here. On one hand, you're going to feel this kind of surge of sexual confidence and, this kind of boost to your masculinity, but at the same time, you're not quite going to be sure of yourself in that area. So, and maybe that also ties into this Two of Swords bit in your Cancer, sort of your private life, feeling contradicted about how you're dealing with people intimately. You're sort of going to be of two minds when it comes to interacting with people on an intimate level for the next month. And I do think that's because on one hand you have this emperor drive that's happening kind of subconsciously and physically, and on the other hand, you don't necessarily trust groups of people. You kind of are sticking to yourself and doing your own thing and working on you. And yeah, I just um yeah. Now the interesting thing that one can argue is that this Ten of Cups business in your Libra is kind of curious. And I think the key to understanding it lies in the fact that the of Cups really is so transitory, particularly in this deck. Now, I mean, I realize you can interpret it based on the weight definitions, but when I use the Tot deck, I use Crowley's definitions. Go figure. And for him, the Ten of Cups does not represent real long lasting, life changing fulfillment or happiness in the way that it does for the Weight Tarot. This is much more because this card is at the end of the cup suit, it's so much more about the transition from complete happiness to the philosophies of separation and the source of sadness, really, and the source of evil in the world, really, which is entirely talked about and dealt with in the sword suit. So I find it interesting that you do have the Ten of Cups in an airy position, in the position of Libra. So it's almost like you are being very selective about who you connect with. I just think that that's tying into everything else that we've been saying. And you're going to be very selective about the connections you make and the pleasures that you seek out and the society that you choose to associate yourself with, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I also just don't see you as investing all that much in connections with people, sort of just kind of gliding through this month socially and just kind of taking things as they come. Um, you have a lot of the number 4, I just realized, which is also interesting. You have 3 4s and the Emperor. So there's a lot of structure to your month. Um, there's a lot of structure and sort of rigidity. And I think that that's partially coming from your need to protect yourself from whatever it is you feel vulnerable. Whatever it is that's making you feel vulnerable, I suppose. You are in a mode, you're in defense mode, you're in self-protection mode, and just you're focusing on your own survival right now, which in your own emotional security. And I think that you are looking to try to control the situation. Now, the interesting thing is that the way that you're going to try to control the situation is through Scorpio. Really, I mean, the Emperor really being the epitome of what the number 4 is all about, is taking place in your sexual center. It is also the center of death and change and transformation. So, I don't have to necessarily read it as from a sexual standpoint. I tend to do that because I am a Scorpio, and believe me, I know what Scorpio is all about. But anywho, I do think that it is also about transformation and change, and perhaps whatever change it is you're going through, whether it be a breakup or something like that, whatever wariness you feel, you are trying to remain in control through the transition and through whatever tumult you may be going through emotionally or mentally. So, whether that's through kind of, you know, um, manifesting something sexually for yourself, or if it's just by remaining very secure and focused on yourself and your work and the projects that you have to get done by the end of the month, or what have you. Um, I think that that's what the Emperor is getting at. You for the next month, it's going to be about you maintaining control over the situation and allowing yourself to stay productive and healthy through this situation. And I do see you as being able to do that. So I think overall, the next month is going to be really good for you for the most part. It's not going to be all that exciting. I apologize. It's not all that thrilling. It doesn't have all that much change, but I don't think that that's what you need right now. I think you do need more of a calm period to relax and recenter and to re-solidify your sense of self. Okay, and that's about it. I hope that this makes sense, and I hope that you find it helpful, and I hope it proves to be accurate. Please let me know one way or the other, and let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything else I can do for you. All right, and thank you as always. Always a pleasure reading for you, and I appreciate your patience in your business, and happy holidays. Bye.